My best part of the last 2 days with you was watching you negotiate with my son LJ in the car yesterday for the baseball. That was one of the best learning lessons for him, to use his critical thinking. And you weren't just giving it to him, you were giving him the business. And I appreciate that, because that's a good learning lesson for him in that vehicle.
That's hard, because I always say people come to me because they're not listening as much to their parents because they're desensitized, right? And so, and we do a little negotiation. I think he's going to learn that it's not easy. And, it's very much easier to negotiate with mom and dad sometimes than it is with a complete stranger. But I'm happy to say I walked away with a baseball and walked away with $200. So I just want to say, coming to the Bachmann residence really worked out for me too as well. So I would recommend you negotiate with his son, although he'll probably be prepared on the next one. He'll see it coming.
Welcome to the Roofing CEO Playbook podcast. Build it to sell it. We're here to cut through the noise, all the rhetoric, to show you how to build your roofing business, make it profitable, where you make a boat ton of money. And the cherry on top, when you're ready to sell, you can sell to a private equity firm and change your family's life. I'm sitting here with JT Foxx, international speaker, author. I mean, you name it, you've done it. You got sales and marketing group. You speak all over the world. You travel 150 to 200 nights a week, which is amazing to me. Thank you for coming in. Came right from Sweden to see me. Before we jump into it and hear your story, because it's a hell of a story, I want to thank Service Titan and Rilla for sponsoring this podcast. Two great products, two great technologies. Check them out. JT, thanks for coming to Philadelphia.
Thanks for having me. I work 200 nights a week. That's a lot of nights, my friend. That's a lot of nights.
It's a lot of travel.
Yeah, it's a lot of travel for sure. So, it's I always say short-term sacrifices for long-term benefits, right? So you can have it all in your life, but not at the same time.
And relationships are important. So let's just talk about your journey. You were born in Canada. I mean, you had
I was born in Canada. I lived in Montreal. My mom was French. My dad was English, and I was a stutterer. So my whole life, people said I would never make it, and I never thought I did. And then I just got a sports scholarship for prep school in Connecticut, which I never should have had. Have they come out to see me play? I played the bench that day, but there was a snowstorm. So God bless the snowstorm. And then, I spent 2 years there, and then my parents had moved from Montreal to Toronto. But first they had moved to San Diego, and the whole thing, you have to understand, from Canada, Montreal, frozen tundra, minus weather, very different mentality. To move to California is a completely different mentality. So both my sisters kind of went bad during that time, the transition of kids and beaches and lack of structure per se, and they pretty much lost all their money because of the exchange. And then they moved back to Toronto, where I lived there, and I went to university and for political science, so nothing in special, and I wanted to be an attorney, but a paper attorney, because I wasn't a good speaker, because I had to do some research. So never in my 1,000 years I thought I'd end up where I am here today, and that's kind of how it started. I saw a late night infomercial about how to make money in real estate at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I showed up, and everything they said didn't really work out like they said it would, but in credit due, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have moved, because they said, well, it doesn't work in Canada, you need to move to America, after I bought the program. And so I moved to Chicago and started real estate investing.
And how much money did you move with in your pocket?
$974. And then within like 9 months, I had negative $34,000. And nothing was working, partly because I was doing the wrong things. You just start putting offers, 1,000 offers, which I was a week, which is a lot, but on the wrong type of properties, right? So I'm taking the richest area and lowballing at 50 cents on a dollar. You're not going to get anything other than angry people. So you can do the work, but if you're working on the wrong thing, then it doesn't matter. So the work ethic was there, but work on the wrong thing. And then, I'm really going negative. And my first deal came about, I made $70,000. My second deal, $147,000, and then did 500 deals. I'll use my own money, and then it spurred into over 1,000 deal, over 70 companies and brands in 55 countries, clients in 104. So that's the short version of it.
I mean, so how do you go from a kid that stutters, that I'm assuming you had low self-esteem, right?
Everyone tells you you're not going to make it. So I think the bigger driver, though, is what my parents, they never said they're proud of me. So I always did like the opposite of what they did. Like we were talking yesterday, I've never had a drink, I've never drugged, I've never smoked. because that's what basically was the Achilles heels of my family. So I did the opposite, and everyone said I couldn't do something. So, when I look back at it, I mean, I think a large part of success is luck. People say, how did you get rid of your stutter? When I made my first million, I told everybody, I'm a millionaire. I was 24 years old. I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. And then people who had less, who didn't believe in me, they didn't change their mind. And then people who had more money than me said, who cares? And I realized that I was trying to get approval from people. And that's not really what success is all about. The job is not to get approval of the people. The job is to love yourself and become ultimately the best version of yourself. And that was a big switch. And then, it was like 10 million when I was 28, and then it just exploded to 9 figures in my 30s. And keep going up and up. And I find it easier to make $10 million a month than it was to get my first client. And I think that a lot of it has to do with mindset, mentality, environment. It gets easier as you go. Now, you have different kinds of problems, what's called rich people problems, right? And I say every problem I have has a first name and a last name.
Why are relationships in business so important, do you think?
Well, 70% of success in business is building, monetizing, and maintaining relationship. 20% is marketing and branding, and 10% is knowing your numbers. Why relationship? Because it's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And so relationship is important because it takes one person, one deal, one opportunity, right? So you and I were working out this morning in your gym, and we were you were telling me this issue, and I said, you know what, I got a guy for that.
You did.
Right? And I immediately, I'm going to basically endorse you to this guy who's very picky on who he takes on, and that's the relationship, right? And so the same thing, for you, I landed from Sweden to New York, and I was trying to find a way to get to Philadelphia, and you sent your driver to pick me up, which a lot of people say, well, it's like an hour and a half, 2-hour drive. So, that shows effort in a matter of relationships, and it's not what you say, it's how you make people feel that's very important. And I think the biggest problem is that everybody wants something out of relationships. They're like, give me. What value are you bringing? If you're listening to this, how much did it cost for you to share this podcast with somebody else? How much did it share to go to Lance's page and or comment or it doesn't cost anything. And those little things get noticed. But everyone's like, hire me, buy from me, do business with me. And they're not adding value. And I believe that if you're adding value to people and then you're expecting something back in return, that's not adding value. And so, listen, I'm extremely busy, as you know. Every day of my life is scheduled out. And you and I had been talking, and we get a point into our relationship. Like, first of all, I talked to you and say, hey, I'm meeting Tom Brady. What did I say? I'll get you a football.
Absolutely.
Right? Which was not the easiest thing in the world to do. But I wanted to keep my word, send it over to you. And so we've known each other for, 8 months now, but we never met in person until yesterday. And I said to myself, and you and I are texting, and there comes to a point in the relationship is we're either going to meet or we're not going to meet, right? And so I was like, all right, I've been on the road, literally Singapore, Australia, literally around the globe in the last 12 days. And I said, I need to come back on the way there. Now, understanding that you're a family guy, Sunday's important, you got football, you got this. And for me, I just wanted to get home. But you know what? We both made it work because it's either was going to work or I wouldn't be on this podcast,
Absolutely.
right? So that's the point that people need to say is how much money are you willing to lose to gain their relationship? Everyone pays for success.
Without a doubt.
Right? You can either pay with time or you can pay money. So you can pay time, work your way up so that maybe one day you can find someone to buy or exit your company, or you can go to a guy like you who's got the connections with the private equity, who's got the connections with the industry, who can just basically, when people know it's you, they know, slap their finger, and that's it. But like me and you, with all the business I have and all the opportunities, everyone is always messaging us asking for something rather than adding value. And that's the mistake that people make in business, is that they want to build a relationship as long as it benefits them. And if you want to build relationships with people who are more successful than you, you have to add a lot of value. And you may not get anything in return back, but sometimes it's those little things like, if you're a roofing industry and something happens on a Sunday, right? Most people say, I don't work on Sunday. But if there's value comes for it, like, let me come out there because I know how inconvenient it's these little things
Absolutely.
that build a brand that people don't understand.
So you're getting into the trades. Can you tell people why you're getting into the trades? I mean, I could say, but I want you to explain why. You have tons of businesses.
The trades, there's just so many people. A, they're retiring. That's number one. And number two, they are not getting into it. And plumbers, HVAC, electrical, roofing, because someone's got to do that work. And AI is not going to be replacing that work. And so the problem is it hard work? Yes. but they have an opportunity of starting their own business. And at the end of the day, they can make a very good living. Charlie and I are both agreements. I think plumbers and HVAC and electrical, they'll be millionaires. I mean, that'll be the new class.
Tell them what they make in Australia, the average roofer.
The average roofer anywhere between 150 to 250.
Just doing the work.
Just doing the work. Or then they can go to the mines, which is in the middle of nowhere. That's the downside of being nowhere. They make as much as 250 to 300,000 Australian.
Kairos, me and him were talking, and Kairos runs our brand over there. And this morning we're at the gym, and we're talking about these gurus and the fake gurus, as we call them, and we're just bullshitting about some of the people. And he said, do you know on Instagram you can see your fake followers? Did you know that, Kairos? I didn't know that. So I said, yo, can you tell me how many I got? Because I didn't know how many followers I had. I got like 70-some thousand followers. He said, well, that's pretty good. I'm like, I don't think so compared to other people. He's like, that's pretty good. I'm like, well, how many are fake? So he showed me.
You have 4,302. Now, you didn't buy them.
I had 4,000 people that were fake out of 77. He's like, that's really not bad.
That is a very good. I can tell you that if people.
I didn't know you could do that. So I deleted them, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it hurts the engagement. But I could tell you names off the top. You and I talked together. Like, if you're nobody, especially a lot of people in the service industry that kind of teach this, they got over 1 million or 2 million followers. I'm like, no one knows who you are. Like, I would tell people, do you have like Jelly Roll has 3.2 million. How in the world do you have 2 million? Like,
correct.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think people think fake is the new real. I think authenticity, and I think that's why you do very well, and people are listening to this show, you just need to be real. And I think people want real advice to the customers too, right? Because the customer has a very negative impression of trades by nature, contractors and all that, because they either know someone's been taken advantage of or they've been taken advantage of. And so I think if you're just real and authentic and you do a great job and provide a wow service, right? People are like, wow, they did a good job. Wow, they were fast. Wow, they were clean. Wow, they were respectful. Then they're going to tell other people. And I think the most important part is business is about creating an experience. And I hear more horror stories of plumbers, HVAC, electricians, and it's always people being overcharged. So a plumbing guy comes to my house and he goes, "This is $189 for this cord." I'm like, the cord. So then I said, hold on, put it on Amazon. It was like $12 for the cord. I'm like, really, dude? He goes, yeah, I know. It's not me. Why don't you just order it and then you could just screw it in? But people don't know, right? And people don't know. And I think that's why, people need to, if you want to be in business a long time and you want to exit, right, you're only as good as your customer, because you can take advantage of customers here and there, but eventually it catches up to you, especially online. When I was 27 years old, I made $70 million in the bank. I haven't worried about money since, and it doesn't motivate me. If I was, I wouldn't be working. I wouldn't be seeking out the next deal, the next opportunity. Like, for me, I hate losing more than I love winning. So as soon as I get a big deal or a big exit or a big opportunity, like 2 seconds later, it's like, okay, next. But if I lose, I got 2 minutes before this podcast, I got some bad news about something, and now I'm just eating me alive. It's just like, then you think, what happened? Who didn't do their job? What could have been a better system and procedures? So it bothers me until I win again.
We were talking this morning, and I just said to you, because you were a millionaire by the time you were 24. Mm-hmm. I wasn't. I was very transparent with you. Most of my wealth has come in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but it's the work that you put in.
No doubt. But do you believe that the hardest thing for someone to do is to make their first $1 million in cash?
No.
It was so.
The hardest thing to do, first of all, is when you start, is to get your first client, because it's all in your mind. Then it's the first 100,000, because anyone who has a business, any trades, or anyone listening to this right now, if you outwork everyone, you can make 100 grand. But then it becomes, how do I get my first $1 million, which is the third hardest thing you do, which is 80% you and 20% your people. And where tradespeople fail is they're very good at the work. They're not good. See, they're tradespeople, plumbers, electricians, roofers, HVACs, trying to be entrepreneur rather than entrepreneurs that are roofers. That's the big mistake that they make, because first of all, they got training into the working of it, right? But they're not getting training in the business component of it, right? How to run it, systems, process, procedures, accountability, hiring, firing, organization efficiency, better, faster, more efficient type of thing. And so as a result, people kind of get stuck into this mindset. Then the easiest thing is to make your second million. I tell people it's easier for me to make $10 million a month than it was to get my first deal, because now it's easy. And I know I'll always be able to figure out. Obviously, as you climb up the ladder, your butt's more exposed, and you're being, people are looking at you, and there's a lot of other problems, and you never know where the next hit is coming, or you have your competitors all looking at you, but that's just part of the game, right? And
it was easier for me to build my 5th roof like this right now, what I'm doing right now with LB Capital, to do $100 million in residential roofing this year than it was for me at 15 years at one SEO.
Because you know what to do.
Correct.
And also you have the confidence, you know what to do, what not to do. You're not fazed by the good days and the bad days. I tell people, don't celebrate the wins too high. Don't get yourself too low. Just keep that even keel and keep pushing. And that's why, people, they over celebrate or under celebrate. We saw a lot of people during COVID overly celebrate. They were, I'd call it real estate agents or people, and they wouldn't respond, or anybody.
They still don't, these people.
That is true. That is true.
Insane.
And then, but now they're like begging, ooh, you know what I mean? Because you never know when it can end. And that's why I've always run my business like a paranoid optimist. Always paranoid something's going to go wrong, but optimist that I will succeed.
Your mindset is different than most people. I was texting you. You were supposed to land at 6 last night. I said, hey, do you want to go to the Phil's game? You were like, yes, let me change my flight. You didn't hesitate. You were like, I'm in. Like, where most people might have been like, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you why.
I'm just curious.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
So first of all, I don't think there's ever been a time where I text you where you didn't message me back in like less than 5 minutes, and vice versa. Or if it's like, hey, I'm on the phone, or now that I understand your schedule, then I know you better. I know what times you're not available, like if you're coaching or something like that. Most people after 6, you happen to be coaching, 100 days a week, always doing something. But I looked at it and I said, okay, let's do the math, right? So I was supposed to land here at 5, right? That was the original flight. So obviously I don't know you. You asked me to stay at your house. I have no idea what that looks like. There's an unknown factor. I've had a few negative experience. And so I figure I'm going to come in. We'll probably chat. We'll probably go to dinner. I'll go to bed, and then I leave today, right? So the amount of time, enough time to build a relationship. But then you said, I want to go to Philly's game. And then I took that lid a couple things. I said, well, number one, there's the relationship aspect of going to something like that. Number two, in some case, it could be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, right? It's playoff baseball, right? There's an excitement. There's an energy, actually motivating. And so it cost me $5,000 to change all those sites. Like, I had to cancel flights and get another flight, fly to Sweden, rush to the airport the night before to go to London to stay over, because that was when I was going to make it, and, trying to do this as well. But I said, now it's going to be more of a whole relationship thing. And with the weird part, I don't know, it's like I show up to your house, you're not there, your wife's not there. Like, it was just like me. I was like, all right, I have to be pretty strong. I have no idea. Like, people coming up. Then I think I met your friends before I met you. And then you showed up. And
welcome to the farm.
Welcome to the farm. You never know what's going to happen at the Bachmann dungeon. Oh, sorry, Bachmann farm. It is a dungeon if you come down here. The wrestling mats, all the weights. You got to be a real tough man to come here. And if you don't, and then you got to see where Lance puts his weights at. You got to make sure you do the same weight, or just add a couple of ring and stuff like that. Get him when he's sick, though. He's not all in. But so again, how much money am I willing to lose to gain the relationship? And you and I talked about this, and I, deep down, I should have gone home, right? Based on how long I've been gone. And I said, if I don't go, it's probably never going to be a relationship. It's going to be an acquaintance, but not a relationship. And, that's what I've done with everyone. And then something else came up. I met someone in Italy when I went to the Andrea Bocelli's house, the world famous tenor. His name is a very famous artist, very, very famous artist. And it was like, he said the exact same day. It was like, you or him. But one, I had already committed to you, right? And I don't like changing things for other, like, even if it's a better opportunity, because how you do one thing is how you do in everything. But the point is, if you want to build relationships with people, you need to go to them. If they're at your level or they're below you in terms of business-wise, then have them come to you. But, it's a lot of time to leave, to go, to travel. And, listen, we could have done Zoom, but after a while, deals are done in person. And people do business with people that they like.
Absolutely.
So I tell people, hey, listen, you want to get to know Lance and you wanted to get him to partner with them, you should fly to Philadelphia. He ain't flying to you. So, because he doesn't need you, right? And I think there's people have this notion, or you know what they say? Hey, when I'm in Philly, but that's like never. And then even when you are in that city, everything is so booked up, it never happens. You have to go for it. How much money am I willing to lose to gain the relationship?
You know, when you're speaking, and people, and you love marketing. You have a marketing company, social media company. Do you think most people miss the boat on that? Like, you came to me this morning and you were like, "Hey, listen, do you know?" Because we were talking about. Let's be honest here. We're talking about. We're talking about people out there saying they do $100 million a year after 3-4 years. I was like, "There's no effing way they're doing $100 million." I know what $100 million is. I know because I do
How
it.
many
I
people
know
you have? What do you
how many
have to do?
employees I have. I know how much staff I have. I know what my payroll is. I know what the stress is, and coaching groups, and you know this, aren't Tony Robbins, you, and probably Grant Cardone are probably the only 3 true coaching groups, sales and marketing, you want to call it, everyone, doing 100 million plus. Would you agree to that? If you're doing 10, 20 million, you're at the top of the heap. Like, you're right below you guys. Like, you guys are there, and
You've
they're
also
here.
been doing it for 10 years, and I think,
But 100 million in 3 years, do you believe that for a minute?
no, absolutely not. It's impossible.
And that's
First of all,
what-
because if you just do the math of how many people you have, how much you have to be gone, and also too, that's earned income, right? And so you have to keep grinding as opposed to exits of companies and deals. Like, I make far more on deals. My crypto portfolio, which I don't sell, by the way. I like to say that people start selling. I don't sell people's crypto. All these scams, they create this and try to sell crypto. And so I have so many investments that make me far more money than what I do, and that's earned income. It's also taxed at a much higher rate. Now, I have a bit of a lower tax because I do a lot. People say, why do you do international? Because it's taxed at a much lower rate, right? And so you get to keep more of the money, and there's more things that you can do internationally, and also too, they pay in euros and pounds for the exact same pricing. So you actually make a lot more because of that. So that's one thing. I do travel, and there's a feeling when I go into a country, like, I never thought I was broke that I'd be in Sweden and Norway and Singapore and Australia and London and Zurich, Switzerland in 1 week. Like, in 1 week. Like, that is like unheard of in the world. But life is about experiences. And I tell people there are 5 categories of wealth, right? Or life. You have wealth. You have your family, which is immediate family, kids and wife. You have fitness, health. You have hobbies and fun. And so, those are the 5 categories, right? You got wealth, you got fitness, you got family, you got your friends, and you got hobbies and fun. Pick 3, that's life. So you can have it all in life, not at the same time. So I choose wealth and family. I treat my clients like family. And 3rd, fitness. I give all the money in the world. It doesn't matter. So what does that mean? Like, you may say, hey, JT, the Phillies are in the World Series, just say, hypothetically. Do you want to come? And I look at my schedule. I'm like, I can't. I'm here, right? Like, it's just the way it is, right? So there's a sacrifice there, right? And, hey, JT, you want to come go on a hunting, fishing thing? Sorry, I can't. Right now, it doesn't mean I have no fun, but there has to be a sacrifice. Now, if I sacrifice the wealth part, but then listen, let's say you're working 6 days a week and Sunday's your day off, and you decide to go golfing or hunting or doing whatever. What do you think your spouse is going to say? Right? Like, hey, you're gone all week. This is your day. So that's going to put a pressure on your relationship. The pressure on the relationship could lead to a divorce, which then spills into the business.
Oh my God.
Right? And so that's my point. So you can have it all in life, just not at the same time.
Do you believe most people aren't willing to sacrifice to get what they want?
Yeah, everybody wants to be successful. Nobody wants to do what it takes to be successful. Listen, I'm all over the world. Everybody has the same problems. Everybody wants to start a business and think they're going to be wealthy in the first month, or, it doesn't work that way. Like, are you willing to work for the next 5 years to make no money so that one day, 10 years from now, you have a massive exit? Unless they have a chance to meet someone like you that can help them, or you meet the right relationships. But, Charlie Mullins, who sold his company for 147 million pounds, told me he didn't make money for 15 years. Right? 15 years he didn't make money. So just take a look at it from that perspective. 15 years. And then sells for 147 million pounds. That's like 227 million US dollars for a trade business. And the guy's like 73. He looks like Rod Stewart. He's my hero.
I told you in the gym this morning when we were just talking about that, I said, I didn't make real money until about 4 years ago, really the last 3-4 years. I said I made great money. Yes, I was a millionaire probably 10 years ago, 11 years ago. But it came after 30 years of just grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. And most people don't realize, like, and I had to make changes. I had to sacrifice, like you said. Like, and I love my friends, but you start hearing comments, you're big time now. You're too. No, it's not that. It's if I keep going to the bars, if I go away,
Well, I had no friends, so it wasn't hard for me. So nobody wanted to be a friend with a stutterer, so it wasn't very hard for me. But yeah, a lot of people don't get the sacrifice that it takes. But by the way, entrepreneurism is living your life like most people want, but never will because they weren't willing to do the sacrifice that you did to be there. And so you know, of course there's a price to pay. I mean, listen, if you just want a job, you do 9 to 5. And that's it, you know, and there's nothing wrong with people who just want to and not work weekends. There's nothing wrong, but don't complain about, you know, not having enough to pay the bills or not having a month. You know, there's a price to pay. And those who are crazy enough to change the world are usually the ones who do. And that was Steve Jobs, right? And so we are willing to put it all on the line, you know, to inspire people to be the best version. And I know how much you care about the people, but we're both at a stage in our life that's like, hey, you want it, great. If you don't, it's okay. But fear is a choice. And I think people have this analysis by paralysis, fear failure, fear what other people think. And fear is self-manufactured, right? False evidence appearing real. Many people are afraid of things that hasn't even happened yet.
or it won't happen.
Right? Or, you know, I remember, you know, you go to the Phillies game and some guy knows, you know, and I was seeing some people on their apps and they know everything about fantasy football. They know the numbers, the receiver, who's out of the game, who's not, but they don't know a number in their business. So maybe instead of living in a fantasy world, you should live in the real world and maybe go look at your business.
I said to you yesterday, I said, the people that know, because I know nothing about, you clearly could tell that yesterday, I know nothing about baseball. But my kids love going down for the experience. I love seeing my kids happy, so I go. I said to you yesterday, I said, all these people that know these stats, you cannot be that good at sports and know it all. And I said, 1 out of a million are good at business because there's no way. Like, it's just, it's.
Well, I saw you work out this morning. I don't think you have a regimen I think you're just working out, but I don't think you don't have a system. And same thing with me. Now, if I was committed, and this is what I did for a living, I'd be like, how many reps and how many calories and what are we eating? I just don't have time. So, like, the extra effort that people put into meal prep and working out twice a day, which is very important, but there's a cost something else is going to give. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, to wrap it up, do you believe that home services is the future?
Well, 100%. AI will never replace home services. You cannot replace. So, listen, so much old piping. The roofs, you know, they're not going to replace itself. The plumbing's not going to replace itself. The electrical's not going to put itself. We're still going to be building. So no matter what, there is the future is anything dealing with home services. And here's the thing too, if you're willing to put the work, because it's not easy. I mean, it's hard work. I mean, here's the funny part. I've never picked up a hammer, a paintbrush, and a screwdriver in my entire life. And don't forget, I've done over 1,000 deals, that's rehabs and stuff like that, because I make money with my brain. You know, that's what my coach said to me. But now I've had to learn, starting trade schools in America and Australia and other parts of the world to try and recruit people to come to these various countries, including the United States, because unfortunately that's where the workers are. Nobody wants to do trade schools here. They don't understand how effective it is. But it is hard work. But everything is. Even if you wanted to be a YouTuber, are you willing to put out videos every single day for 3 years and make no money? And the answer is no. People will post one video, it doesn't go viral, and they quit.
100%.
You know what I mean? So there is a cost. It is hard work, but the payoff in the home services is bigger than any other industry. Evidenced by private equity, evidenced by the multiples, evidenced by the interest into this industry, and it's only going to get better. That's why they got to listen to this show. They got to get with Lance, and then, you know, you're only as good as the people you're around with.
Well, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. I know you get to the airport. How do people follow you, JT? If they
You
wanna
can go
follow
to JT, type in JT Foxx on Instagram. You can also listen to my podcast, type in JT Foxx Podcast Network. There you can see the interview with Lance, also the interview 110 with Charlie Mullins, which I think it's a very fascinating story. I'm fascinated by that. Like for some reason, Plumber's selling for $220 million US. It's just so unreal. It is a lot of money. And then he's starting again. And say, why? Because it's a game.
It is a game.
Right? It is a game, and I've got a new book coming out, Business is War. And the whole concept of the book is you kind of learn nothing from success, everything from failure, and I want people to learn from my failure and other people's failures, because I think the people say about the success the same thing: work hard, believe in yourself, do the right thing, marketing, branding. But they don't say that, like, I spent $100,000 on a marketing campaign, and because I didn't have the right demographics, my cost per lead was $200, right? Like, nobody talks about the failures.
No doubt.
And that's what we have to do, and that's why they got to listen to shows like this and shows like mine, because it's, you're only as good. Your network equals your net worth.
My best part of the last 2 days with you was watching you negotiate with my son LJ in the car yesterday for the baseball. That was one of the best learning lessons for him, to use his critical thinking. And you weren't just giving it to him, you were giving him the business. And I appreciate that, because that's a good learning lesson for him in that vehicle.
That's hard, because I always say people come to me because they're not listening as much to their parents because they're desensitized, right? And so, and we do a little negotiation, and I think he's going to learn that it's not easy. And, it's very much easier to negotiate with mom and dad sometimes than it is with a complete stranger. But I'm happy to say I walked away with a baseball, and I walked away with $200. So I just want to say, coming to the Bachmann residence really worked out for me too as well. So I would recommend you negotiate with his son, although he'll probably be prepared the next one. He'll see it coming.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Service Titan and Rilla, our technology of choice to helping us scale and grow our business, and making sure all of our viewers have the technology to scale their business so when they want to sell it, they're able to.